Now, I like to use just a jab saw to cut a small hole before I start investigating a larger hole to find the leak. And now I can kind of see, I can see one little drop in the middle there, and there's another drop on the right-hand side. This is my go-to for cutting open the copper pipes. It's the auto cut tool. It's nice in these tight spaces. And then once that is removed, then we'll let it drain down and move on to that final cut in the background there. Now, if you remember, 3/4 of an inch SharkBite fittings need 1.25 inches of copper clearance. This only needs 7/8 of an inch for the Viega or the Nibco, either one. So we'll start crimping. Here's a little different look on the second crimp. You're gonna need to extend out these handles, and you need that leverage to get the full crimp on the 3/4 of an inch fitting. Then you'll release those jaws. We have no leaks, and this will stay as my permanent solution. And I'm gonna cut it closer to those 2x4s there that support the ceiling. And you can see the mold here forming, and that's what we really want to remove. For most of us DIYers, we're gonna fit it in place and have a little interference. So I just temporarily secure that and then use my oscillating tool to cut off any of the interference, making sure we have a nice tight fit. Kicking things off, we'll apply a little bit of the all-purpose joint compound here to the inside corner. Then I'm just using mesh tape. A lot of DIYers like mesh tape. I know I do because it sticks to the drywall, so you're not having to kind of manage the mud and the tape at the same time. I'm just gonna use this 25-ounce can from Homax, and this is the Knockdown texture. You try to offset it by about 16 inches. And then you just go back and forth trying to be as consistent as possible, and then feathering it out on the edges as well to try to blend it in. So I'm going to let this dry and then go ahead and put on my first coat of flat. It's a Sherwin-Williams Duration interior paint. That is the paint that was used 5 years ago to paint the ceiling. So I know I have a color match. That doesn't mean it's going to perfectly match up, but since I didn't prime the drywall, this serves as priming as well. But what I saw is I didn't like the finished product. So what I did is cranked up the can to get a little bit larger blobs to try to make the edges a little bit better transition to the original ceiling. Let it dry, and then here's our final product. It's not a perfect blend, and this is just going to depend on where your ceiling is located. If it's in a bright open area with a ton of sunlight, you're probably going to need a little better match than this. This is in my basement, and actually I have the video lights on. So if I turn the video lights off and just let the natural basement room lights on, you can see it's a much darker overall room, and it blends no problem.